We often hear about people who've turned a hobby or an interest, or as it's now often referred to, a passion, into a profitable business. But what does it take to actually achieve this? And is there a business model or a roadmap that people who have succeeded in doing this have followed? Hi, I'm Jane Singer, and thank you for joining me here on A Seat at the Table. I really do appreciate your taking the time out of your day to listen to the many outstanding people who share their expertise on the show. You are an important part of our global community, which now has grown to include 96 countries. We're going to be adding a new feature to this program, and I'll be telling you more about it at the end of the podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Cody Bramlett, who founded Science Natural Supplements and built it into a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business. In addition to running his business, Cody now teaches other entrepreneurs how to profitably start and scale their own businesses. In this podcast, Cody will share how to build a successful network of affiliates that can drive your sales, the key thing you need to convert website traffic into actual sales, the game-changing value of investing in crafting your story, and what he's learned during his entrepreneurial journey that might just save you time and money on yours. Before we get started, if you are a supply chain executive who'd like to finally put an end to information overload and get a simple, concise summary of key market developments and shifts, then the current situation in sourcing is exactly what you're looking for. To get immediate access, head on over to thecurrentsituation.net. That's thecurrentsituation.net, where you can get all the details. I'll also put a link in the show notes. Now back to our program. If you're looking to start an e-commerce business or 10x your current business, Cody is the man to see. I'm excited to have you on the show, Cody. I think that people are looking for ideas, people are looking for inspiration. I think that everyone wants to turn their passion, right, from a hobby into an actual business. You've done that. Can you talk a little bit about what it takes to do that and how you did it?
Yeah, definitely. In general, I started out learning about direct marketing, and that is what kind of parlayed me into the world of everything that I do now.
Right.
What originally it was is fitness, right? I was an overweight kid. I didn't love myself, so I wanted to exercise and start a gym. So I joined some Bill Glazer and Dan Kennedy groups, the local chapters back in the day, and got involved. I wanted to learn more about how to market correctly, and eventually I opened my own gym. And that's kind of what got me going. At that point, I was involved in coaching groups and masterminds, trying to learn how to scale that and grow that. And I kept seeing people who did this digital stuff online, and it just intrigued me. And I wanted to learn more. And eventually it led me to that path. So I think in short, how did I get into it? It's by taking your passion, thing you love, looking for ways to market and sell and find people who are interested in learning the skills that you've developed, and then finding a way to market to them. One of the things I always heard was the riches are in the niches.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter what it is, right? You could be selling filters for mold for vacuums, right? If that's your passion, right, there's going to be an audience for it. It's just a matter of how do you get in front of it and how do you convince them that you are the passionate soul that they should be listening to about it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really important point. You talk about turning your passion into a scalable business, and so much of the narrative that we hear nowadays is pursue your passion. And I think that there's a big, in my opinion, divide between just being passionate about something and being able to make it work, because I don't know if you've found this to be true. I certainly have. There's things that you feel passionate about, or there's things that you really enjoy doing. You may be good at doing it, but there's those periods of time in the entire timeline from start to success and continuing success where you hit bumps in the road. And sometimes those bumpy stretches can be quite long. Can you talk about your experience with that?
Yeah, well, definitely. And I think that before I get too much into the bumps that I hit, because I've hit many bumps, some that almost derailed me out of the industry. But the first thing is with that passion, right? Understanding what your passion is and if you can actually share it. So one of the other things I always love to remind people about is that if you are the most experienced person in the room, you are the expert.
Right.
So the question is, how do you become the most experienced person in the room? So for me as a gym trainer, I went home for Christmas break. My brother was using a kettlebell, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. I have a new passion in exercise. Right. So from there, I looked for a kettlebell gym. I got a membership there. I learned how to get involved, how to train it. I then went to the trainers and said, how do I become a trainer to learn how to teach this? I then went to the certifications. I then came back and taught until the point where I knew I could literally open my own gym when I did. So you have to kind of pick a path and start going down it. Now, did I waste tons of money and get nothing out of that at the beginning? Yes, but it led me down my path.
Right.
A lot of people are afraid to take that step because it's going to be expensive or it's going to be time consuming. Like, was first grade a waste of your time? Yeah, probably. If you didn't experience it, could you live as a human? Yes. But it all kind of gets us down the path where we need to be. So find what you love, become an expert at it, get your 10,000 hours of experience. So that way you can feel confident about sharing that knowledge with people. So that's the first thing. And then I guess the second question you kind of had there was about the bumps in the road, right?
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they hit a bump, they feel that they must not be passionate because they find it to be discouraging. They're dealing with an unpleasant customer. They're dealing with maybe a supplier who's giving them a bad time. And because they're not totally loving every moment of it, they're like, well, I'm just not passionate enough about it. I need to find something else. Where, perhaps you just need to realize that every day isn't, sunshine, roses, and lollipops, so to speak.
Exactly. I mean, same thing. If you want to get your medical license, it's not like you can just go get it in a week and a half and go for it. It's going to take years of preparation, failure, cramming all night for a test, getting denied your application, having to find the right school to go to. There's all these ups and downs in order to get there. And we have to just learn that there's an end goal, and that end goal is going to constantly shift. I'm not going to say the same. It's going to move, but we have to keep marching towards that goal. Like I have not reached my goal. I have goals that I haven't even dreamed of yet. I can still see light at the end of the tunnel. And we all have to keep marching towards that direction. Now, what can happen to you, right? You can spend a bunch of money and launch something and fail and get no sales. You can have a business that takes off, but it grows so fast you can't control it, and then it explodes in your hands. You can mess up with credit card processing. You can mess up with fulfillment. You can mess up with customer service. You can mess up with marketing. You can mess up with lots of things. But all of those mess ups are a lesson on what not to do again in the future. Right. It's just that indicator of, hey, I've learned that, there's this lane on this bowling alley has these two sides. I'm going to bump into the bumpers, and I'm going to learn not to bump until I can try and stay center and make it down to the end.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, a lot of it is tenacity, right? You have to start with a passion, but then if I'm understanding you correctly, you have to back it up with that long-term vision, the tenacity to be able to tough it out, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think being real is important. Not trying to claim you are something that you're not. Right. I may be an expert for lots of people, but I still have coaches. I still have people that I look up to. Right. There's not, you're never a god. And I would never would never want someone to try and put that fakeness out there and start to live that fraudulent attitude. You have to be real. You have to be real to yourself, but also don't be afraid that you know what you're talking about. Right. Because again, if you're the only personal trainer in the room, you are the expert. Right. Everyone else will have to go to you first before they can learn anything else. Yeah. I think that's a good point. I mean, you look at all the top performers in the world, certainly in sports and entertainment, they always have coaches. 100%. So I think that if we're talking about the business that you built, a lot of it involves working with affiliates. How do you build that kind of solid affiliate relationship? That can be sort of difficult sometimes, right? That can be sometimes not always as successful as we'd like it to be. How do you build that win-win relationship? Win-win. That is it. It's win-win-win-win-win. Everyone wins. Otherwise, we're not playing the game. Right. So let's back it up and share everybody what I've actually created. So in 2016, I launched a supplement, a turmeric with bioprene on ClickBank and Buy Goods, those kind of platforms where affiliates can market to. And it took off, did 2.5 million my first year and so on. And then I've developed more and more products. We've done over 50 million in sales of supplements. Wow. Congrats. Thank you. It's been a crazy ride. Some years you made a lot of money, some years you didn't, but it's been a journey to get there. So with that, affiliates has been my main source of traffic. And so in this world of e-commerce and being online, especially in the direct marketing world, there's a couple different types of affiliates. So let's start with the first is warm traffic. Those type of affiliates are people who already have a customer base like me. I have a customer base who bought supplements, and they are looking for other offers to promote to their customer base. So I'll look for people who have converting offers that resonate with my audience, that are not out of left field. I'm not going to send them like cryptocurrency offers, right? I'm going to send them health related offers or personal development related offers. And if they convert well to my list, I'll continue to promote that. So that's a warm traffic affiliate. Then we have cold traffic affiliates. Those are people who run things on Taboola, Native, Google, YouTube, sometimes Facebook, although Facebook's very hard with health stuff now. Right. And they are just trying to get clicks to your page to be able to say, I spent 50 cents on a click and made 53 cents on the click. And so those are the cold traffic people. They're harder to work with, but when you find a good partnership relationship there, they can be great. But this is not what we should be depending on, especially starting out as a new business, because these are like tsunami waves. They go, not consistent, and they're not able to help you. And then, of course, you can get your own traffic through Facebook, YouTube, and stuff yourself. So I have focused on the warm traffic affiliates because it's all about relationships,
right?
Shaking hands and kissing babies. Whenever I go to a conference and tell my wife, she's like, "What are you gonna be doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna be shaking hands and kissing babies," just trying to make sure that everyone knows I'm there. I can service and help anybody that I can. I always ask people, how else can I help you, right? I don't care if you're brand new to the industry or a ninja who's doing 10 times better than me. At the beginning and in the conversation, I'm going to see, how can I help you? Can I introduce you to somebody? Can I write you an email? Can I be a guest person on your podcast? Can I do something to help? And that's how you start to build those relationships. And then I think the big question is, where do you find these people?
Right.
It's through networks.
Right.
There's groups like Traffic Tribe. This lady named Amber Spears runs this great group of affiliate managers. I have a coaching program, Supplement Millionaire. We have a great group of offer owners who, of course, have affiliate managers. There's platforms with MaxWeb, ClickBank, Buy Goods, Digistore. All these different platforms have affiliates that do meetups. They do events. They do parties, and you have to go to these things. And when you do, you start making friends with people, and then all of a sudden they're willing to run your offer and try it out, especially if it converts and works.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you have to do the legwork, so to speak.
You do. And we have over 300 affiliates in our network right now that we have promote, probably about 80 or so a month that actually send to us. So it takes time to get there, but it will happen. And there's big affiliates, little affiliates, and they're just all over. The key is just to treat them all the same, give them all attention, love, and respect, because you don't know if a small affiliate will become a big one, or if a big one will be worthless in a year. Everything changes. You never know where someone's going to be in a few years. And if you help them at one point, they're going to help you at one point back. If you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. I think we've sort of forgotten that in recent years about the law of reciprocity, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about being able to get these, what you call whale affiliates. And how do you particularly work with people like that who have so many people coming to them, right? I mean, when you get to a certain point, you really have an abundance of riches, so to speak, in terms of who you can be promoting and working with. How do you position your product as something they're going to want to promote?
Definitely. So in the direct marketing world, it's all about what the affiliate needs to meet their metric. So there's different things, earnings per click, earnings per 1,000 emails sent, how much revenue they make per drop on email send. So if I have an email list and I need to make $1,000 per send, because that's what I'm making on average, and I send it to Jane's offer and it makes $500, that sucks, right? I'm not going to probably do it again. I'll share some stats. I'm not a mean person. I'm not going to say you're a bad person, but I'm going to say, hey, you should improve it and let me know when you do. I'll test it again. Right. But if I sent it and made $1,500, I'm going to mail it like crazy.
Right.
And the cool thing is when you have the offer actually convert right, people start seeing it show up on all these lists all the time, and then they're going to literally reach out to you. Now, the whales, like you mentioned, there's about 20 of them, maybe 30 in the industry. They are, of course, inundated with people every day. Will you promote my offer? Blah, 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 just all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And they don't have time a day to get through their inbox. So how do you get their attention is by finding out who's in charge of what, and how you can get their attention. So this goes back to Bill Glazer, Dan Kennedy stuff. I always love the story of trying to get attention of a company, and you send them like a letter, right? They don't care. You send them a manila envelope. They don't care. So one of the ideas they had once was they sent an umbrella. And when the umbrella opened up, there was like a letter inside of it that had information. So it was eye-catching. It was different. It broke their train of thought and their normal repetition. And they went, whoa, what's this? I found out someone was in love. An affiliate manager was a great friend now. I found out before when I was small and she was big, that she was in love with dogs, right? Sent her a Petco gift card. Bam, immediately had a conversation with her because she knew I liked dogs. And that was something we bonded over.
Right.
There's another affiliate who loves wine and I love wine. And so boom, talked about wine, sent her a bottle of my favorite wine and boom, bonded over that. So it's finding ways to make friends and getting closer to them. How do you find them in the first place? It's when your offer does work and convert, so you actually can beat that metric for people. It's at the end. So if Jane, if I ran your offer and it made $1,500 and I wanted $1,000, hey, it's so great, Cody, that it made $1,500 for you. I'm so excited. Let me know I can help in either way. Do you happen to know any other affiliates you think that might like this offer, that this could work on their list too? I'd love to help more people.
Right.
Oh, heck yeah. Because if I can share your win with someone who I like, they're going to also love me because I shared something brand new with them that made them. So it's asking for that referral, it's asking for that connection. And you do that enough, and eventually you climb the ladder up to the people who are the true whales.
We're going to take a quick break now, and then we'll be right back.
We were hiring when we were making 50 to 100K monthly losses.
And why? Welcome to episode 1.
I can't think of a single founder who's been around for a decent amount of time in business who hasn't had their tunnel of year. This was that year. We're going to be okay, yeah, Sheree. Some are going to hear this and think, you TDP. But hear me out. You only have to do the math to understand that very soon we were $500,000 down.
Interesting. Yeah, I think those are very good points because it is difficult to get through to people like that. So finding ways to differentiate yourself and obviously to prove that what you're doing is going to be beneficial to their business is absolutely critical. When you're looking at these offers that convert, I think that everybody who has a product feels that that product is a standout, right? I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be trying to sell it themselves. But how do you create that kind of an offer that translates and that actually, when the consumer sees it, makes them want to buy it? What goes into that? I think that's really something that I've always wanted to decode.
That's the $1 million question.
Right.
So as you know, I've parlayed all my experience in the Science Central Supplements brand and getting customers to work. And I've taken all my failures and my wins and put them together in like a blueprint program. So I have a coaching program called Supplement Millionaire, and I help people get that, and be able to achieve that. And what we've learned is it's all about the copy. The sales page gets the connection. So in the world of marketing, where there's just so many people out there trying to get your attention constantly, it takes a lot of touches. So Facebook, might be 7 or 8 touches before someone converts, and then they're going to buy a cheap product, like one bottle of something online. In the direct marketing world, we try and get someone to know, like, trust, and want to buy from us in one shot.
Wow.
And you do that through a long form sales page or one of those long form video sales pages. So it's a TSL or a VSL. And the TSLs are 10,000 words. The VSLs are 30 to 50 minutes in length.
Wow.
And the whole goal is to be able to tell a story that gets people to understand the benefits, why they need to do it, make them feel connected to a person that's already had that experience, all these special reasons why your product stands out. But here's the thing too. I also advocate people to do white label stuff, just sell something that you can get easily. And for that, you just got to tell the story differently. It's kind of like, why do you buy a Camry versus an Accord? It's just how the story is told. They're identical vehicles. There's not much really different about them, but it's that story behind Toyota, behind Honda, that makes you want to gravitate that way.
Right.
So what we do is we work with people on coming up with their story. So is your story, I lost weight? Is your story, I was a doctor, I was a trainer? Is your story, I was a mom who struggled and things changed? Did that happen in your family member? What inspired you to find this product and want to bring it to market, right?
Right.
That's the first step. Once you have that solidified and you understand it, if you have customers already, you try and find any way to hear any of their feedback. Hey, I lost weight. Hey, I did this. Hey, this changed my life this way. And you collect all that information. Once you have this idea of a story built, it's about finding the right copywriter to write your sales page. And this is lesson number 1. So many entrepreneurs out there want to do everything.
Correct.
But an entrepreneur's job is to learn how to be a CEO.
Right. Good point.
It's to learn how to actually run a company. And that's the trajectory of an entrepreneur. And if it's not already in your entrepreneurial mind, whoever's listening to this, you need to put it that way, because you have to be looking towards, what does a CEO do? So you hire a copywriter who is qualified, who's willing to work with you in the long term, who you're willing to compensate through commissions long term if it does well. And they're willing to help you refine the page over and over and over again to make it right. In the copy world, there's tons of copy organizations. This guy named Chris Wright, he writes amazing copy. There's other copy from this group called Copy Accelerator. My friend Stefan DeGeorgia runs that group, and they train copywriters and they help them perfect their copy. So you find people they find a copywriter who's in a group, who understands it, and then they work with you. And then it's a 4 to 8 week process of creating that first version of a sales page.
Right. I think that's really interesting. I think that it is difficult for entrepreneurs, especially people who are just getting started and bootstrapping, because you have to be a little bit mindful of where you're spending money. The money goes out a lot faster than the sales come in. There's always that lag, even if you've got a great product that ultimately will sell. So people do, for all the reasons that make sense, want to be a little bit cautious about where they're spending money. But it's interesting that you say that one thing they should invest in is getting a proper copywriter, because you're right. It's very difficult actually to write that kind of copy.
Very few people I've met just do it out of the blue. And if they do, it's usually because they have a very charismatic personality. They already have experience and knowledge with writing, and their story is incredibly unique. Not the product, right. Their story. Yeah. Otherwise, you really have to work with a copywriter. And like, for example, I love working with this guy, Chris Wright. His whole copy community, people charge between $5,000 and $25,000 for a sales page.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's quite expensive. And they all want commission long-term. Right. So the idea is, if you are paying a lot of money, the page should be almost ready to go the first shot. And like the Chris Wright one, our most recent page we put in, it had about a 1.5% conversion rate with a $220 average order value.
Wow.
Just nice home run in the first shot. Yeah. And that way we can perfect it. If I would have gone cheap and spent $5,000, it would have been 6 or 7 renditions to get to that level. Right. So one of those things too, trying to save money to be able to make money is one of the hardest things to do. Yeah. So I almost encourage people to really understand what they need to have to start a company in whatever industry they're in, and to go earn that money and save it.
Right.
Because if someone came to me and said, Cody, I want to launch a supplement brand and I want to do $2 million, $3 million in sales this year, and I have $3,000 to spend, I'd be like, go get a job, save 10 grand, and then we can talk, because you're going to need, 10 or 15 grand at least to really build a company. Otherwise, it's going to not do as very well. You're going to spend a lot of time at the end of the day, have something that's kind of okay that doesn't really work, and no money.
Is there a way to do it where you can just start smaller? In other words, sort of work your way up, because there's a person who will either save that capital or raise that capital to be able to start big, or start at least a bit bigger, as you're saying. Is there a way for somebody who says, I just cannot get to that target in the foreseeable future, but are there things that I could start in a smaller way with realistically a smaller return?
Yeah, because they're smaller, right? So I can put that investment in and get it. But there's definitely people out there who do different types. There's different types of groups out there that will. A good example, I have a close friend who did something similar to this. We were trying to launch a product that didn't go very well, and he ended up pivoting to do an interview-based series where he interviewed a ton of health professionals and drummed up emails to get people to opt in for that. Right. And then when people opt in to watch the whole masterclass kind of series, he was then pitching them on his products in the back end. And then the profits from that paid out the people who promoted the offer. Right. So that idea of putting in that equity of time to build something unique in terms of these videos is something that just takes building connections, making friends, and finding the people who want to be interviewed. Because a lot of people who are interviewed in this world don't get paid. They're just doing it because they like it. It's fun. They want to share information, or they're helping their brand grow. So you can find people to do it in that way. However, it's going to be much harder to get pointed to you with those kinds of offers, because they don't convert or produce as much income as these whales and giant affiliates that we work with are expecting. So you could start there, obviously, but having that goal of earning the income to build that perfect sales page to be able to work with those whales, I think that has to be that objective from the get-go. This is a stopgap to get me a few $1,000s extra so I can build the next version of my company.
Then the starting point really for affiliate marketing, like what you're doing, is that copy on a landing page. That's sort of the foundation, aside from having obviously a good product. But that's the tools of the trade, is a high converting landing page. And the backbone of that really is the copy.
Yep. And that's another way to save money too, right? If you want to learn how to do copy, you can buy some copy courses and just write that sales page for a year, 2 years. I've known plenty of people who've done that too and made $1 million products out of that.
Wow.
So there's that option as well, but it's a lot harder. It's a skill set that if you aren't a writer, it's like I tried writing a sales page the first time. It ended up being just like 20 pages of just gibberish in the garbage can. So it's a challenge. So if you're a writer in any aspect, you can start to do that. You can understand that. You find the best winning offers out there and just reverse engineer them. Right. Every single section, every single 5 paragraph section is a different section of the story, section of the sales page that's trying to convey something, an emotion, a feeling, a connection, an action. And the whole goal is to have the customer keep reading and staying involved. One of my coaching clients, his page, after many different renditions, he has 60% of the people who click and go in on his page make it to the sales section.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's one of the highest I've ever seen. But a good story, solving someone's problem and helping them is key. That's the other thing too. You're not there to sell something. You're there to help people.
Right.
So all the entire page is literally better help someone. They better come out of that, reading that article, feeling better or helped in some way, whether they buy or not from you.
Right.
Because that's how you get someone to stay connected.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And it is very difficult to do. It looks easy. Conceptually, it sounds easy. I've read countless books on copywriting over the years by all of the greats, right? And back from these guys who built their careers in the days when they'd run these full-page newspaper ads that cost God knows how many millions to run. It wasn't like now in the internet where you're paying for the copy, but you actually can just put it on a website. These things had to be published in nationwide publications where there was a very big cost. So you had to get it right. Otherwise, the loss was tremendous. And like you said, there was typically a commission-based structure behind it. So there was a lot on the line. And when you read what they did and how they did it, it just sounds so simple, but not that easy when you actually try to do it yourself.
Exactly. There's just so many little things. Like in our coaching program, we do weekly calls, and one of them every month is about copy. And the copywriter who's the coach in our program, who is a part of all the copywriters we work with, he was reviewing a different page. And as he's doing that, I'm reviewing mine. He's saying what to do and what not to do. And I'm just seeing all these things that we should not be doing in the copy that we need to fix. So even we who have tons of experience working with great copywriters, there's tons of mistakes that happen. There's tons of things that need to be improved upon. And I think the biggest key to anything is just knowing that it's all a stepping stone to the next piece. It's not like this is garbage and you start over. It just needs to become better. It's a clay. You're modeling it into that perfect model, but it's just going to start out as a block. And someone who's good can get it there faster. If not, it's just going to take more time.
Yeah, it's an evolutionary process, ongoing, and I suppose you also have to adapt because markets change and people's priorities shift. Things become a bigger or lesser priority, probably to your target audience over time. So being responsive and adaptive is probably also part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you look at everything you've accomplished, I mean, you've really done a huge amount, but what would you say has been your biggest challenge? I mean, it sounds like you've really outperformed the market, but I'm sure that behind the scenes that there have been a few things that have not been easy. What have those been for you?
Well, just to let everybody know, I have made $1 million of mistakes. I am fortunate enough that I've been able to hold on when I should have drowned a few times, but I was able to pull myself out. So just know that crazy stuff happens and you can get through it. And it happens to everybody. So people that are on stage saying their successes and they're millionaires and all fun stuff, they were not at many, many different points in their business. And heck, a year ago, they could have been drowning, but they just managed to know how to hold on tight. So the hardest part of all, which I think has been my learning and what I've been teaching my clients the last year, has been becoming a CEO.
Interesting.
It's the idea of letting go, building up people on your team, giving them goals, KPIs, responsibilities, targets, and then letting them do their job has been the absolute most challenging thing. But when you can actually build it correctly, all of a sudden, everything starts working better. And you realize how many things you, as the squirrel-brained, chasing shiny object entrepreneur, were messing up.
Right.
A great example is our profit. I was so focused on customer acquisition because at the beginning, I wanted to over impress the affiliates. So I paid them almost all the profit. I was just about getting the customer so I could resell them more products later.
Right.
And that actually drove us down and made the business harder to operate as we grew. We did 15 million in 2020. We were almost at a break even, if you can believe that. $15 million in sales, and we were almost at a break even. We profited very little. And in 2021, we kind of realized that we need to change that. And so far this year, we actually have great profits happening. And what did I do? We decided as a team what to do. We decided goals to accomplish. I asked my team what they would do to make it right. We discussed if it will work, won't work, ideas to change it, all that fun stuff around it. And then I let them do their job. And lo and behold, things start to work.
Right.
So it's learning to let go, learning to be a leader, learning how to lead, and learning to trust in your staff and your team, because they're better than you in a lot of things you think you're the best at.
That's such a good point. I mean, I think all of us have had to learn that at one point or another in the course of the journey. Now, when you look at everything that you've learned and you've built this multi-million-dollar business, that's just an awesome achievement that very few people really have been able to do. What have you learned that surprised you? I mean, there's always the typical things that you learn along the way, but what would you say sort of shocked you that you just didn't expect?
That's a great question. So there's been two sides to it. So I think that in the direct marketing and affiliate world, there is just a plethora of sharing and support. And that's something that you're not used to. Like I used to work for US Food Service. It was a direct competition with two other companies. It was fight to the death to try and get the sale, right? Try and cut them out on price, try and make up a lie, do whatever you can to try and get the sale. Just aggressive. Right. And in this industry, it's a very much if we all do better, the tide rises. And if I have a successful thing that works and I share it with everybody else, their pages will convert better. They will get more customers, thus promoting me with a larger email list, thus giving me more customers. Right. And it's this constant growth pattern in that. So that's probably one of the most pleasant surprises.
Yeah, that's really good.
It is. I think the more unpleasant surprise might be how brutal old school business mentality is on the e-commerce style world. Like the idea of credit card processing. That is the devil that no one should have to play with. Really? I've been blessed to find a few people who are amazing in this industry, who are great at processing and understand businesses like us. But I had credit card accounts frozen with $500,000, $600,000 in it. PayPal locked up my account with $400,000 once. Wow. I wasn't doing anything wrong. We just had 1 month of big sales, 1 month of low sales, and the refunds stayed flat across the board. But because the sales volume dropped, the refund percentage increased, and they shut you down. Oh my gosh. And there's this lack of understanding of how business works from that credit card banking sector that's painful. And that's why anybody that's going in this industry, I always tell them, get your product or your digital product coaching program on ClickBank, on Buy Goods, on Digistore, because they handle all that stuff for you. So you don't have to get involved with it. It's a godsend those three platforms exist. And everyone should be on them. If I started again tomorrow, I wouldn't have built what I did. I would be on those platforms from day one and would never leave. That's a really great point. And it came up in a marketing group that I'm part of as well, with a lot of people who were trying to do their own business and not using any platforms whatsoever because the fees are there. And, it's like, I don't want to lose whatever it is, 5% or 2% or whatever that percent is, which adds up over time for sure. But like you said, you're being penny wise and pound foolish, because trying to handle that on your own
is a beast.
Yep.
So
they're also not realizing what's involved too, because
exactly.
there's like 3 or 4 different pieces of software on all these platforms to prevent fraud.
Right.
That costs you thousands of dollars a month to have without
Correct.
it. Like the Stripe account and their fraud, assuming you could run Stripe, it's not a very good system. We have additional systems on our Stripe account to make sure that it protects it. So to say, oh, I'm going to save 5%, it's a lie. You don't know all the numbers. You don't know all the things going into it. So it's something to really realize that, like, let's honest to God, like we are probably about 7.5%, 8% is our merchant fees out the door.
Right. Wow.
On any of these platforms, they're going to start you at 10 and bring you down to about 7.5%, 8% if you scale. So there's absolutely no benefit about going on your own. It's just an extra hassle to deal with. And if you want to be a company that's streamlined with a few staff and not have to deal with the massive loads of accounting and all this other stuff like that, don't try and build your own thing. Try and use the platforms that exist. Use people that have the merchant processing built in. Make your life easier. I always tell coaching clients that jump on that want to just change the world, because I used to have the mentality too. I go, if you want to start a race car team, would you learn how to engineer a tire? Or would you just buy the best tire that's designed for race cars?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You don't try and reinvent the wheel. You do it with the best tools you can that are available, and you become the best at using those tools.
Yeah, that's such an important point. I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up. Now, you've shared so many exciting things here, Cody. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
I appreciate that a lot. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it a lot. So people can find me, codybramlett.com, supplementmillionaire.com, supplementmillionaireblueprint.com. We have a free Facebook group. We're all about helping. So if you want to join, you can learn some free information in the Facebook group. If you want to get involved, we have a coaching program. We have a blueprint program, which teaches you all the steps to actually build your entire supplement business. My favorite part about it is we designed it in a way for the squirrely entrepreneurial brain to try and keep you focused, keep you on track, so that way you don't try and build a second funnel when you're in the middle of building your first one. Because just because it seems easy doesn't mean it is.
Correct.
You have to stay hyper-focused, and that's how you're going to succeed.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you brought up the word focus, because like so many people, I also tend to stray. And you're absolutely right. When you look at the successes in any industry, it's always the ones who are narrowly focused and really drill down and get the product right and understand the consumer and get the copy really targeted. That it's so conceptually easy and so difficult to implement. So I'm really glad you brought that up, Cody. I think that what you're teaching sounds like something that everybody, even if you're not in the supplement business, going through it could learn valuable things that they could apply to whatever particular product they're selling.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I have a coaching client who's in the real estate business. Not going to do supplements. I don't know why they joined, but they like it, and they're learning, and they're implementing the ideas with their real estate company. But that person too was like, "Oh, I have this opportunity, this opportunity, this opportunity." I'm like, "And how much do you make doing those opportunities?" Well, nothing yet. And how much do you make in your real estate business? Oh, a couple $100,000. Let's just stay focused there and make it better.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, I thank you so much for joining me today on A Seat at the Table. It's just been a pleasure. I have learned a tremendous amount. I'm sure that our professional community has as well. So thank you again for being here.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again. And if anybody needs anything, just hit me up on my websites or Facebook, and I'm here to help.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Seat at the Table. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, we're adding a new feature. If you've ever listened to a podcast and thought, I have a question, well, now you can ask. We'll be letting you know about upcoming guests on our show, and you can send in your questions. Also, you can ask questions after the show, and we'll forward them to our guests for feedback. If you'd like to participate or just want to learn more, head on over to our website at seatpodcast.com. That's SEAT podcast.com for all of the details. The links will also be in the show notes. You can also leave any thoughts, feedbacks, or suggestions there, and yes, I will read it. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Jane Singer, and I will see you in our next episode of A Seat at the Table.